see you today. Anyway, our behavioral change specialist is here with me, Johanse Ayodike, and let me, before we even get into today's topic, wish Johanse, yourself, your wife, your immediate family and extended family a Merry, Merry Christmas, my friend. Manners and respect.
Jason, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you and your family too. And Merry Christmas to everyone viewing. Actually, everyone who meets me in public, you know, give me some compliments, give me some words of encouragement, even tell me how much I help impact them. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to even connect.
Let me tell you, Johan, you're making a real big difference on the show with the public and even myself, because for me, it's almost like therapy. There are conversations where I would sit down and I would soak in certain words, the way you would do your delivery, the way you would break things down and give us a different perspective sometimes that we would not, on a normal basis, really look in that particular direction. And that's why you do what you do, and we give thanks for that blessing. So keeping with the whole Christmas theme, today's question, hear the question now, hear the question, the nation. Should you put corned beef in Pastelle? Should you? You want to say?
All right, so let me break down first. What exactly is corned beef, right? Corned beef, I think, is the chest area of the cow, right? And I know that area is very, very tough. The meat is tough, so that's why it's a more inexpensive, more cheaper form, because it have to go through a lot of the processing and the soaking. That's why it's so salty. So that's why it's less expensive. So I remember talking, when speaking to people is like, you know, one, it's cheap thing, that's what they were saying, and two, a Pastelle supposed to have quote-unquote real meat. Now, I mean, corned beef is still real meat. But my question is now, years now I stopped eating meat, but I remember I used to like corned beef growing up. I had liked corned beef. And if you like Pastelle and you like corned beef, why not put it together? Because there's two things you like. Tell me what you think.
I mean, I agree, because obviously the Pastelle to me, you know, you have lentil Pastelle, you have veggie Pastelle, you have soya Pastelle. Pastelle to me is more or less not so much what's inside it, it's the actual, what is make Pastelle out of corn?
Cornmeal.
Cornmeal.
Yeah.
So it's the texture it's the texture and the taste of the outer part of the meal, as opposed to what's inside. But then, because it's Christmas and people, remember we spoke about that last week, a week before, I think it was, where people want to go the extra mile, and I guess, you know, corned beef in our Pastelle around Christmas. Some might deem that as being cheap. You're looking to, you know, it's like, well, you can't afford a Pastelle, you go put corned beef, boy, no. You know, there are people who will think like that.
No.
Because Pastelle expensive, eh? Let's be real. The Pastelle with meat, there's a cost attached to that. You want to say it's a cheap?
Jason, just enjoy yourself for Christmas. However, you can enjoy yourself. If the corned beef tasting good, make your corned beef Pastelle. If you need real meat, do the real meat. And I say that because we almost to Christmas, and there are many people, I mean, even yesterday, my mom called me to find out, you know, if I attending certain family get-togethers, because I do with me, they know they have to make different things for me and my wife. And I was telling her, you know, not to stress herself out now, right? And we tend to want to stress ourselves because things have to be a certain way. Now, I'm not saying sacrifice a standard, but at the same time, don't cause yourself stress because something has to be a certain way. And with corned beef, I would say, if you're using corned beef, of course, don't pretend it's real beef, if you understand what I'm saying. So, if it's corned beef you're going with, say, yes, this is what I could afford, this is my standard, etc. I enjoy myself and it tastes good. But at the same time, don't pretend it's something it's not.
Do you think Christmas and everybody's tradition, everybody's style will be different, but everyone could all relate and could reflect on what Christmas was to them growing up, what the standard that a parent would have set? So some people, parents or grandparents, would have gone all out, and in their mind, they have to maintain that standard. Christmas is about the lights, the tree, the food, the full tray, friends, family around. Then there are some people, the Christmas might have been a dismal one. So now they are within a particular means, they want to create a different experience for themselves and by extension if they have children. Isn't like Christmas really culturally something where you're almost like trying to chase the Christmases of yesteryear? When you think about it really deep?
That's a good point. And what I think we're trying to chase is that good feeling that we had, right? And let's say for those who had an enjoyable Christmas, I'll go with that first. You know, whether it is eating ham, whether it is around the table with family, whether it is the big family get-together, all the children playing with the toys, sorrel tasting good, etc. That feeling is what we're chasing. But the feeling doesn't necessarily have to come from the same things every year. Because if I really love sorrel and sorrel make me feel good, but then sorrel becomes so expensive, I can't afford it, and I'm putting myself in debt. I'll just give an example. To get the sorrel, then now chasing the good thing makes me not feel good, right? I might feel good in the short run, but in the long run, I don't feel good. So what I would say is create a culture of joy and happiness, right? Whether you have spiritual or religious beliefs or not. It should be a culture of joy and happiness, and you would know what is your financial means, you would know what is your energy means, because sometimes we don't have the energy, you know. We don't really have the energy. It's the end of the year. We work whole year, and it's the end of the year, and we're trying now to put in all this effort, and then it causes us mental stress.
Yeah, because, you know, when I really analyze it, you will look back on what Christmas would have been to you as a child. So for me, I remember the homemade bread. That was a must, you know, the ham, the clove in the ham, certain smells. The punch of creme, mom would give you a little small sample. You can't drink too much because, of course, it have alcohol in it, so you take a teaspoon. The Christmas tree, you know, you're cleaning up. We were always very last minute. And up to this day, I am still last minute. I would know Christmas coming up months in advance. But there is something about that Christmas Eve, that day before Christmas Eve, where you know suddenly, well, I mean, I'm not as last minute this year, honestly. But you still want to be able to pull something, a last tidy up, like there is something where you're racing down to this 12 o'clock, clock strikes 12 at Christmas morning. It is what it is. And, you know, for some people it's pajamas, it's sweaters. I found out recently, there are people who go to hotels for Christmas. That's their Christmas tradition. They decide to let's leave the house as is, and they will check in and break in Christmas morning, whether it be Hilton, Hyatt, Mandalena, Cocoa Reef, you name it, they're in a guest house, they're in a hotel. Everybody different.
And that's the thing. We could also get accustomed to trauma, because for some people, the Christmas time is traumatic because that cleaning up, right? I remember my mom telling me that for her, the sewing curtains, right? Christmas Eve for Christmas Day, even though they would do it every year, it was traumatic for her. But of course, we could get accustomed to it. And I'm saying that because culture is something that we practice over and over and for over generations, but that don't mean it's something that's good. And then of course, we are humans. We are dynamic creatures. Things change, people change, circumstances change. So if we fighting and holding on to keep it the same, then we could run into serious problems.
I want to go back to something you said last week where we mentioned for those who going into the season, the finances really, it's a bit shaky. It didn't work out. Bonus didn't come through. Obviously, you have your living expenses and you really cannot give, especially the young one, your child, your grandchild, what they hope for, what they anticipated for the Christmas. You've said to have an honest conversation, but how does one really have that conversation with a young one, put it into words that a child, or even an adult, someone in a relationship, you really can't go the extra mile and give that person who's in your life, you love them, what they want, you know, you can't give them that excitement come Christmas morning. I wanted to kind of ask you this morning to elaborate on finding the words, should it be something verbal, should it be something written? How do we even strike up that conversation?
It could be a bit of both, right? Let's go with a child. Most likely, most times, a child will want one thing alone. So you could ask them to make a list of things, and you go through with them what is most important, what is not important. Then, let's just say, I go in worst case scenario, you can't afford anything on the list at all. What you could do, you could write a price by each of it. You could go with the child and price it, and then, and just being honest, you could say, you know, well, mommy, daddy, we only have this amount. So right now, we can't afford it. But then you could put the ham or the sorrel or something else like, you know, we could afford this. So out of your list, I just give an example of 5 things, and let me add the food, we could give it these things. So the child could still understand that, you know, it's not that I get nothing. But again, something, and also I understand the resources. Sometimes parents do like to tell children these things, but is it truth? And therefore, now the child wouldn't have this expectation, and of course you feeling distressed because you don't want your child to be disappointed. So it's better to be open with it. So I give like that example of the list. Is really just being honest, and just having that conversation. Even say, well, what we have joy, we have each other. It may sound cliched, but it's the truth, because it have some people who lose people during Christmas,
Yeah.
Right? And it don't matter the toys, the food, the whatever, they prefer just to have that person, even if they're eating cricks, if you understand.
Yeah, it's true.
What I'm saying. So it's better to help the child understand what they have versus what they don't have.
So let's look at the flip side of that now, where resources and the means are aplenty. And sometimes people go into almost a kind of competition mode. and I've seen that, especially when it comes to the child. Mommy and daddy giving the child separate gifts. And let's say dad really goes really all out, and his gift is able to eclipse mommy's gift. Okay, so a PS5 really can match up, let's say, with a Bluetooth headset. The child will be drawn to something like a laptop, a phone, an expensive gift. Should this be something where parents come to a decision where the gift is a collective, it's from mommy and daddy, or should it be mommy giving you this, daddy giving you that? Especially in those two parent households.
If parents are in competition with each other for the gift for the child in a serious way, that's unhealthy, and they probably need to come and sit down and have a conversation with me. That is one. Two is,
even grandparents do. Sometimes granny could eclipse mommy and daddy,
So let me add granny, because that's a whole deeper issue, right? Because if we're thinking about joy, it's better everybody put up and buy one real big expensive gift and say it's from everybody. Them nice big cars, almost realistic cars, and we'd have some BMW ones and Benz ones that are very expensive.
And
right?
bicycles too, that's always a great gift.
It's better you do that, because I think, this is my opinion, Christmas is about bringing people together, and family don't have to be blood. It could be friends, people that you're close with. And if it's about the togetherness, then the gifts should be about togetherness. How you bring together the food, people bringing dishes. It's about togetherness, not who better than the next person.
Yeah, because I've heard of that kind of scenario where, well, this is from mommy, this from daddy, this from granny, this from grandpa, this from uncle, and...
Listen, even if the parents not together, right? I mean, there's a whole deeper issue you could go into some other time, like next year business, right? But even if you're not together, it's about the child. Give the child the memory of joy, because, of course, what you're creating now is a legacy of competition, a legacy of the child favoring one parent and the next. And, of course, when they have children, they might end up doing the same thing.
Yuanse, as we look to wrap things up on this Thursday morning, I'll give you another opportunity to extend best wishes and put your closing remarks to Trinidad and Tobago on this Christmas week, really. We literally days before it, before the big celebration. So, Yuanse, you have the final say. Go right ahead.
Whatever you like in your Pastelle, whether it is corned beef, veggie, soya, whatever it is, don't make yourself complicated. I'm using the analogy of Pastelle and corned beef, but it is about Christmas time. However you want to spend the season, do that. It's about being happy, having joy, and being satisfied. Don't make life complicated, because even though life is not easy, it's really not that hard. Thank you for listening, and season's greetings.
Indeed, and season's greetings also to Yuanse. Thanks a lot. It's been a great year. More than likely we get a chance to do the final one next week, Thursday, God spare, and then we look forward to new installments for 2024. By all means, stay with me. We're going to come back with the weather update, and then later on, Ian Wilson Inside for the morning shot from 7:30 to 8 a.m. See you soon.